So today I'm joined by Helen White, who's the CEO for Taff Housing. Helen, thank you so much for joining me for this Meet the CEO feature.
You're welcome. Really pleased to be here. Thanks for the opportunity.
Well, I suppose we can kick things off by perhaps you can tell us a little bit about Taff Housing.
Yeah, I can. We are a housing and support organisation. So we have just around about 1,600 homes here in Cardiff, but we also deliver support services to around about 4,000 support customers here across Southeast Wales. So Cardiff, but also we do some work in Bridgend, in Newport, and a little bit further afield. There's about 200 of us in total, 200 colleagues. Yeah, no 2 days the same. We're a busy organisation, lots of challenges, but also lots of opportunities.
Yeah, and what would you say is the best thing about working for Taff?
Oh, there's so many great things
Yeah.
about working for Taff. Well, I would say that, wouldn't I? Might need to ask other people really, but I would say we take what we do seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously.
Yeah.
I think we recognise working in housing and in support. It's a tough gig. It's full on. We're working with people who are quite often very vulnerable in very difficult situations. So sometimes being able to not take things too seriously in terms of how we support each other, but recognizing that actually what we do is a really serious job in terms of helping people to sustain their tenancies, to be well in their lives, to be able to thrive in their lives. And that can take its toll. So yeah, a lot of support for each other. So that's a good thing about working here. And also lots of opportunities as well. We're an organisation that tries to encourage people to be ambitious for themselves in terms of their career progression as well. So I think there's loads of some great things about being here.
Yeah, it's a tough question, really, isn't it? Because like you said, you can't pinpoint that one. So yeah, it's good to give a broad overview. Well, you've touched on already that you said no 2 days are the same. So what does a typical day look like in the life for you?
Oh, that's a tough question because it genuinely is no 2 days are the same. And I think in my role as chief exec, what I find quite tricky is making sure I get that right balance of being really focused on the future. Where is the organisation headed? What are we, what are we thinking about? What are the challenges that we can see on the horizon that we need to be putting plans in place now to make sure that we can withstand the challenge and the storms that we know lay ahead. So that real future focus is important to me, trying to keep that. But when you're delivering a busy service, to over 4,000 customers across South Wales, it's really easy to get dragged into the here and now. And I'm naturally quite a helper, so I like to help.
Yeah.
Now I often get told that actually sometimes get pulled into sort of things that you can hear happening around you, and it comes from a good place, but I try and step back from that. So I try and focus on strategic issues. That my day normally has a mix of meetings that are with external stakeholders. It may be meeting with funders, it might be meeting with the local authority, meeting with other housing associations. We do talk a lot and support each other in lots of different ways, but also some internal meetings as well. So we've been doing some work on policies and procedures. We've got a couple of board meetings coming up, so making sure we're prepped and got all our agendas and understanding who's doing what on papers. So that tends to be quite sort of takes up some time. But then thinking about today, this afternoon, I'm attending one of our schemes, which is a scheme that supports elderly Somali seamen. So that's a great scheme. So really looking forward to going some time there this afternoon.
Wow, yeah, so very varied. So obviously you joined Taff back in 2019, but when did you become a CEO and why really, and what made you join the sector?
Well, I reflect back on my own experience of work, and actually the people I've worked with have had a big influence on me. So my first boss in housing, he's passed away now, but he still serves as a real influencer on me in terms of his approach and style. Very understated, perhaps not like me, I'm a bit more loud and brash, but very understated. And just somebody who could, in a very quiet way, retain a kind of relentless focus on the vision of the organisation and pushing that organisation forward to achieve that vision, but in a really understated way. And it was it wasn't until much later on in my career, when I came into more leadership positions, that I could kind of see that it was almost invisible. His leadership was, it seemed to happen without me knowing, if that makes sense. So that's someone who can lead an organization in a way that didn't feel oppressive. It didn't feel like we were being herded like sheep. It actually felt really collaborative, really engaging. And that's, I try and lead Taff in that way. So it isn't about saying, well, what does Helen want, or what is Helen asking us to do? I see my role from a leadership perspective as one of trying to, enable others, as I say, the experts in different areas across our work, enabling them to be great at what they do. So for me, that being in that leadership position, I love talking to people. I love being out and about. I love new ideas. So I think that's why I've focused on progressing to that CEO role, because I get to do all that. I get to do the external engagement, but I love nothing more than spending time with tenants, which I try and do really, really regularly as well.
Yeah. So how did you get into the social housing sector?
Well, I think like most people, it was kind of by accident. It wasn't a childhood dream. I think I grew up wanting to be a barmaid or a police dog handler.
Okay.
Social housing. I did a degree in business studies.
Okay.
Wanted to move back up north. I came down to Cardiff to do my degree. Wanted to move back up to the north of North Wales, and was thought, right, what do I do next? I've got this business degree, don't really know what to do, and spotted a job advertised for a housing association called Ty Clwyd at the time. They're now part of Group Cynefin, and that role was around. It was called Community Engagement Officer.
Right.
So it was around tenant participation, engaging customers, service users, tenants in the services that we deliver, and enabling and increasing their influence in how we were making decisions as an organisation. So that's where I started out and loved it. I loved that balance of working with customers, but also being part of that more strategic decision making. And I felt that I got that experience really early. So that really whetted my appetite.
Yeah. Oh, fab. So looking at the sector now, what do you perceive are the biggest challenges that we're facing?
Oh, there's loads of challenges. And try and see every challenge as a bit of an opportunity, because there is always opportunities to change and do things differently. But there are some really big challenges for the sector. I mean, the biggest, of course, in my mind, is the ongoing housing crisis, the real lack in supply of good quality, affordable homes. We know that shortage is manifesting in families living in hotel accommodation, which is no way to be living. We also know that a lot of people are spending too much time in temporary accommodation. It has a really negative impact on the individuals involved. So we can see that lack of supply when demand is increasing all the time is really challenging. And I think, again, some recent cases, particularly over in England, where there's been some real issues around disrepair and the existing homes not being of a good enough quality, making sure that as an association we get that balance right of really investing in new homes so that we can try and tackle that supply crisis, but not doing that at the expense of making sure our existing homes are of the quality that they need to be. It's that, that's a big challenge, is that balance. How do we get that right? And there's lots of other challenges as well. We see our support work, for example, local authorities are under pressure financially, so they commission lots of our support work. So making sure that we're engaging with our commissioners in a really proactive way, so that we can understand their needs and make sure our services are meeting their needs, whilst recognising that their budgets are under huge pressure. That's a big challenge for us as well. And I think workforce is a big challenge, particularly relevant to an organisation like yourselves. We're getting really good people to want to join our organisation and want to stay with our organisation. That's a challenge. It's not an easy gig, working in social housing, working in support. So we try and do what we can to make sure that we offer a good financial package, but also offer other benefits that make Taff an attractive place to work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, certainly working in the sector, it's not all about salary and monetary. It's also about the values and the culture of an organization. And also, I guess, the end users, you go into that sector because you do want to make a difference, and you see the difference that it makes. And that's, I suppose, why so many people then do stay in the sector. But it's about attracting them in the first place, isn't it? So yeah, totally get that.
Absolutely, and particularly in our support side of our business, there's evidence that actually suggests that lots of people who work in support, so we're working with really vulnerable individuals quite often who've been through significant trauma. There is evidence to suggest that quite a lot of people who come into that role are actually been victims of trauma or themselves.
Yeah.
So they bring lived experience and skill and empathy and an understanding that is massively valuable.
Oh yeah.
But it can also bring challenges in terms of some of the stress that people can experience, and that can be quite triggering around some of their previous experience. So making sure that we have a focus on wellbeing, resilience, and enabling people to be well at work, whilst not shying away from the fact that it's a tough job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then looking forward, I guess what there is to look forward to in the social housing sector. What are you most excited for in the next 12 months?
Oh, what am I most excited for? I think for us at Taff, we're really excited. I say we, the royal we, I'm excited. I'm sure everyone else is. We will be launching a new strategic plan later in the year.
Okay.
So one of the main focuses I'm thinking about, or one of the things I'm mainly thinking about at the moment, is pulling together that strategic plan. And I don't want it to be Helen's plan. It needs to be Taff. It needs to be owned by our colleagues, by our stakeholders, by our tenants. So I'm focusing on that kind of collaborative approach to pulling together a plan that we can all kind of get behind. And then I'll see my role as kind of being the real ambassador, repeating the kind of headlines of that plan, making sure everyone understands it, and then that we're all working towards achieving what we need to achieve. So that's exciting for us as an organisation. We've also got some new developments that will be coming across to us shortly. There's been some delays, so that's been a bit frustrating, but we are getting there. So always exciting to get new homes. But as I said, we're also really excited about some of the work we're doing to ensure we're maximizing the investment in our existing homes as well. So we've got a new asset management strategy, which is going to be really clearly outlining how we're going to make sure we get the best value out of the investment we make to make our homes safe, warm, really brilliant places to live.
Yeah. So looking at, I know we talked about, trying to attract people into the sector can be a challenge. What would you say then are the top 3 tips for anybody that is wanting to join the sector?
Oh, that's a good question. Go in with an open mind.
Yeah.
And also go in with I find, and this is maybe just a personal thing, I find wanting to help, wanting to be engaged, coming into work. And this isn't about us as an organisation kind of taking advantage of any discretionary effort or anything. But actually, I think if you go into work with a mindset of, do you know what? I want to make a contribution to what the organisation is working towards. When sometimes people will say to me, well, I just work in finance, or I just do this. I just about it. Everybody is making a contribution towards us achieving our vision of providing great homes and services. And I try and ensure that everybody understands that they're playing a really important part in our ability to do that. And without any piece of the jigsaw, the puzzle doesn't get completed.
Yeah, that's it. So
trying to make sure people understand that, whatever your role, everybody has a really important part to play. So I think go in with that mindset. I also think ask for opportunities as well. If you want to learn, if you join in housing, working in one area, but actually you sort of see something happening somewhere else, you think, oh, that looks really interesting.
Yeah.
Involved. I also encourage colleagues to get involved in some of our other perhaps non-role specific work streams, like for example our work on equality and diversity. We have a Deeds Not Words group, so I recommend people get involved with that. We also have a staff forum, we have a wellbeing group, we have a social committee. Get involved, meet people outside of your immediate kind of team. And I think you definitely, and I know it sounds a bit sort of twee, but the more you put in, the more you get out, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and this is my favourite question. It's the last one of this feature. Is knowing what you know now, what advice would you give to your younger self?
Never be afraid to ask questions.
Mm.
Not, I don't think I ever was. And again, I was lucky
Yeah,
because I had a boss who really encouraged me to
yeah,
ask, learn,
yeah.
and ask for opportunity. So yeah, ask questions, ask lots of questions. And I think also be really open-minded, never judge,
Mm.
never make kind of assumptions about why people might react in the way that they do. Recognize that quite often, we are working with people who are in particularly stressful situations, when they may feel that the access to a good quality home is kind of being compromised, or there's a lot of pressure around for people, and it isn't just I think nowadays, life can be complicated. People
Yeah,
have got a lot going on. So just because somebody reacts in a certain way, you have to kind of take that step back and try and be mindful of why that might be happening, and try and focus on addressing the kind of root cause of someone's challenge, someone's issue, really, as
yeah,
opposed to just sticking a plaster over it. Go in with an open mind, I think,
yeah,
and yeah, never be afraid of suggesting a different solution. If you think
yeah,
there's another way of solving a problem, don't
yeah,
just because, oh, we've always done it that way, think, well, I better stick within my swim lane, or whatever the
yeah,
saying might be.
yeah.
I welcome ideas, solutions, innovative thinking,
Mm.
and don't be afraid to share.
Yeah, great. Yeah, well, Helen, thank you so much for joining me on the Meet the CEO. I really appreciate your time, and it's been great to get your thoughts on what's happening in the sector, and also, to get an idea of what your plans are for the next 12 months. It sounds like you've got a busy but exciting time ahead, and look forward to all that it brings.
Oh, well, no, thank you. It's a pleasure. It's always nice to talk about Taff, and thanks to you and the team at Yolk who've sort of been helping us on our way. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Helen. Speak to you soon.
Bye bye.